I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no L's, I gotta get a no call and quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all it is. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. My heart on my sleeve. Shit on my greed. That's how I get it. Success ain't no given. Some days I don't eat, I don't sleep. When I'm focused, I'm dangerous. Down, wonder when I'm anxious. Ain't no limit till I tank. I'm running on fumes. The opposition don't amaze. The roads racing through the pavement. Get your hands out of my bag. I know that's because I've been in it. I don't need the brag. I guess that's what happens when you taking care of your business. But some family, you do the math. I'm out of my pocket. Houston, we got a problem. I ain't perfect. Let them watch me elevating. Got them nauseous. Cause I'm the pilot in the cockpit. Nose diving in the house. And woo. Watch how I get it here. Watch how I get it here. Watch how I get it here. Woo.
It's time! Welcome to DFS by the Numbers with your host, Brady.
Better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out. Knocked out.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers and welcome to the main event deep dive for UFC Vegas 47. We have Sean Strickland going against Jack Hermansson. I am here as always with the man behind the stats, Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, you looking forward to this fight?
Hell yeah, man! I was definitely checking out these guys' tape before we went live. Pretty much late last night up until about 3 a.m, and then today. A lot of great tape on both of these guys. They're both really fun to watch. I think it's a great stylistic matchup. Great main event. Two really tough dudes. Can't wait to break it down with you, man.
Sounds good. Yeah, before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like on the channel. Also subscribe as well. Go check out Uncle Weezy on his channel, Uncle Weezy on YouTube. He's putting out a ton of content each and every single day for the most part. I do want to shout out the chat here. We have Pablo, first one in the chat. We have James as well, liking Shavkat. And yeah, that's the fight everybody's talking about this week, and rightfully so. We have a Paul saying Tarzan is going to kill him. And then Paul, a different Paul, Carlson Harris is my ass shame of the week. He's going to kill Shaved Cat. And Lil Cat, what is up, Lil Cat? Thank you for becoming a channel member. And then we have Matt saying, oi, oi, Matt. All right, Weezy, I say we get into it now. And let us start with the tail of the tape. We'll talk through the tail of the tape, the experience, the finish stats, the striking stats, the grappling stats, the strength of schedule, and then we'll talk some betting, and then we'll see what we can find it in terms of a bet here. So, tail of the tape, Jack Hermansson, Sean Strickland. Jack Hermansson, he's 33 years old, 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. Sean Strickland, he is 30 years old, 6'1" with a 76-inch reach. Strickland's going to be 3 years younger, and Strickland's going to be at a 1-inch reach disadvantage. We'll take a look at their last couple of fights between the two. Jack Hermansson is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, had a decision win against Jacare Souza, a knockout loss to Jared Cannonier, a submission win against Kelvin Gastelum, a decision loss to Marvin Vettori, and a decision win against Edmund Shabazi. And as far as Sean Strickland, he is on a nice run here. He's 5-0 in his last 5 fights, a knockout win over Nordine Talib, a decision win against Jack Marshman, a knockout win against Brendan Allen, a decision win against Christoph Jocko, and then a decision win against Uriah Hall. So yeah, I like both these guys quite a bit. Sean Strickland, obviously very good striker. He had that long layoff in between the Nordine fight and Marshman fight. He came back and he looked really good. It was kind of a softball matchup to get him back in there, but he looked really good, and he's been on a roll since then. And Jack Hermansson, somebody you can never really count out. This guy's dangerous, really anywhere the fight goes. So yeah, good matchup here, good main event, Weezy. What are you looking at here first?
Yeah, let's look at that pro experience, because we see that this is a very fair matchup in terms of experience here. We got 27 professional fights for Strickland, 28 for Hermansson, 261 minutes in the pro cage for Strickland, 272.5 for Hermansson here. Average fight time nearly identical for both of them at 9.67 for Strickland, 9.73 for Hermansson. And Hermansson has been doing this for about 2 years less, 11.5-year pro career, while Strickland's pro career at the age of 30 is almost 14 years. So, yeah, this dude was fighting when he was 16 years old as a professional. Completely on brand for a wild man like Strickland, you know. And, yeah, you mentioned it. There was a layoff here between the Nordine Taleb and Jack Marshman fights. He had a 2-year layoff due to a really bad motorcycle accident. Sean Strickland getting in a motorcycle accident, also very much on brand for the type of person that he is. But he came back from that. And ever since he came back from that, he moved up from welterweight to middleweight. And we've seen him have 4 middleweight fights, and they are against Marshman, Allen, Jotko, and Hall. He's won all of them, 3 of them by decision, once inside the distance. But yeah, the experience numbers as professionals, almost identical. And the experience numbers in the UFC, almost identical. Strickland 1 more fight, but about 60 more minutes in the cage. So Hermansson has been finishing and getting finished in his fights at a much higher rate than Strickland has in the UFC. So that's why Strickland has a 13-minute average fight time and Hermansson only 9.4. We see that in Jack's 9 UFC wins, he's finished 6 of them. And in his 4 UFC losses, he's been finished in 3 of them. So 9 out of 13 fights, over 2/3 for Hermansson have finished inside the distance. While for Strickland in the UFC, we've got 4 of the 11 wins finishing inside the distance and only 1 of the 3 losses. So 5 of the 14 fights finishing inside the distance for Strickland. So about a third. So when you add it up, these guys are finishing inside the distance about half the time. And this is a 5-round fight. So we do see that Strickland is more of a knockout artist, as is Hermansson. When we get into the striking and grappling stats, we'll talk a little bit more about what these guys do well.
Yeah, for sure. So like you said, the experience is very close as well. In terms of the finishing stats, yeah, Jack Hermansson, this guy is so dangerous. 45% of his wins by knockout, 32% by submission, a 77% finish rate. We were talking about it earlier, like when he gets on top of somebody, his ground and pound is very good. His grappling is legit. And I feel like if he does get on top of Strickland, it definitely could pose some problems. But in terms of the striking, what surprised me was, Jack Hermansson, like his striking is actually pretty solid. I really liked what I saw in terms of the striking. Obviously, you got to give Strickland a striking advantage, but Jack Hermansson, he's no slouch on the feet by any means. He has a positive 1.5 significant strike differential, lands pretty high volume in his own right. So I really like the striking of Hermansson, but you got to believe that Strickland is going to have the advantage on the feet. I just feel like it's not going to be as wide of an advantage as people think. So Weezy, what do you think of the striking? And then also, are there any stats that really stick out to you here?
Yeah, I was just on my calculator there, putting some numbers together for Strickland as a middleweight. The striking numbers as compared to the welterweight before the accident. So yeah, Hermansson, 45.5% striking accuracy, 4.86 landed, only 3.36 absorbed, 55% striking defense. He's been knocked down 3 times in 13 fights and never recorded a knockdown. While Strickland, on the other hand, has got 4 knockdowns in 14 fights, and he has been knocked down twice maybe only once in 14 fights. So neither one of these guys are necessarily what I would call chinny, although Hermansson has been knocked down 3 times, but in middleweight, where there's a lot of power. But when we look at the striking differentials, they're really good for both of them. About 1.7 landed more for Strickland than absorbed, and for Hermansson it's about 1.5. But that 66.68% striking defense is really fantastic for Strickland. And when you watch him, especially as a middleweight, he stands straight up. He doesn't really tuck his chin, and you'd think that the way that he stands, that he wouldn't be defensively responsible. But whenever his opponent attacks, he uses his footwork really well to move back, and he hides his chin behind his shoulder. And he's been very hard to hit. And I was just actually looking at the numbers here, divided by recall 2. So he's showing 40% striking accuracy in the UFC, right, Brady? But the striking accuracy in the middleweight division for Strickland in the last 4 fights has been 47.1%. So he's definitely been a lot more accurate. And the other thing I wanted to look at here in the advanced stats, I'll do the calculation real quick for you here. I want to see what the striking defense has looked like. So we've got 243 absorbed, so 243 and attempted in the 4 fights was 796. So we're going to 2 divided by, recall 1, or wait, no. His opponents have been 30.5% accurate against him striking Brady in the 4 fights as a middleweight. So Sean Strickland's striking defense as a middleweight in 4 fights, 69.5%. His defensive responsibility in the striking realm has been so good. Not only is he landing at a nice high clip of 47, or I mean at a much higher percent than he was down at welterweight, but he's also been very difficult to hit, very difficult to damage. So it really looks to me like, as good as Hermansson is in the striking and as well as he moves, it's going to be Sean Strickland winning minutes on the feet here.
Yeah, you got to believe so. I mean, that striking defense is crazy. Like, even in general, 66%, but yeah, at middleweight, 69.5%. Like, that's phenomenal. Whereas you have Hermansson, it's only 54. So yeah, you got to believe that Strickland's going to have the advantage on the feet. I really like the volume of Strickland. I mean, attempting 13.6 significant strikes thrown per minute. I mean, that's very good. So the volume's there, the striking's there, the striking defense is there. So on the feet, yes, I do favor Strickland. But I don't think he's going to like go out there and just completely dominate him in terms of the striking. I think it'll be competitive, but my slight edge does go to Strickland. The big question mark about this entire fight for me is going to be the takedown defense of Strickland, because on paper it is sitting at 82%. But as of late, and in terms of being a middleweight in his last 4 fights, only one fighter has attempted a takedown. Brendan Allen attempted 0 takedowns for some reason. Jack Marshman attempted 0 takedowns. Uriah Hall, 0 takedowns. Christoph Jocko attempted 1 takedown. So, in the last couple of years, Sean Strickland hasn't really had to face many takedowns at all. The last time somebody really tested Sean Strickland was Court McGee, which was a while ago. I want to say that was back in 2017, 2018, in which Court McGee did go like 0 for 11, 0 for 12. So he looked good, but again, that was a while ago. And then prior to that, Kamaru Usman took him down 2 times. Usman was 2 for 8. That was back in like 2017, 2018. So, as of late, Sean Strickland's takedown defense has not been tested. And I do think that changes here. But that's kind of what I'm struggling with. Because if Sean Strickland stuffs the takedown, I mean, this is going to be his fight. I mean, I think he will look like a pretty decent sized favorite. But if Jack Hermansson is able to get this fight down to the mat, I think it'll get very interesting, Weezy.
Very interesting. I couldn't agree more. And yeah, you said it. 4 fights at middleweight, and he's faced 1 takedown attempt and he stuffed it, So there's 2 ways to look at that. One is that he hasn't faced any kind of a grappling heavy attack yet, and we don't really know, how he's going to look against it. Or the other way to look, people are afraid to take down Sean Strickland because he's got a really good ground game in his own right. And then you could say 100% takedown defense as a middleweight, but yeah, he's only stuffed 1. So that's what's going to be interesting here. Now, Jack Hermansson, as an UFC fighter, 17 of 47 on his takedowns, 36% takedown percentage. He's averaging 2.09 per 15 minutes, 0.61 submission attempts per 15 minutes, and he's controlling his opponent almost of his total cage time, which is 122 minutes. So, I'd say about 30 to, little over 17 takedowns. And then we see he's got 75% takedown defense in his own right. He's getting taken down less than 1 time per 15 minutes, had 1.23 submission attempts against him per 15 minutes. And he's given up 16% control time, which would be about 19 minutes of control time on those 5 takedowns that he has yielded. So, when you take Jack Hermansson down, you can absolutely keep him there. Strickland has been 16 of 26 on his takedowns, 61%, 1.32. He's out-controlling his opponents 13.8% to 8.38%. And his opponents have attempted 13 more takedowns than Sean has. So the fact that he's out-controlling his opponents is a testament to down defense, his good get-up game, and his good control time when he gets his opponent to the mat. So Sean Strickland is very efficient on the mat. He's an excellent grappler, very tricky down there. So just because Jack gets it to the mat, it doesn't mean that he's going to be able to be effective down there against somebody as crafty as Strickland, somebody with as good of a get-up game as Strickland, and somebody who's had 82% takedown defense in the UFC at facing 39 attempts. Now, here's the thing, though. We talked about it. He's 7 for 38, stopping takedowns as a welterweight, and he's he's 1 stopping takedowns as a middleweight. So we don't know what the takedown defense looks like as a middleweight, and we got to really believe that Hermansson's going to try to take it there. So how will he respond? Now, I went and I looked at, and I kind of separated Hermansson's UFC career by wins. And when Hermansson is winning, he's gotten 14 of his 32 takedown attempts in those fights. So that's 43.75% on his takedowns when he's winning. When he's losing, he's 3 of 15 on his takedown attempts, only 20% accurate. So I kind of feel like when you see that kind of a history over a 13 sample size for Jack Hermansson, we can kind of say he has to take down and have some success there in order to have a chance of winning. The only fight where Jack was out-controlled by his opponent and still won the fight was the Talis fight. Talk about that Talis latest fight, Brady?
The Talis
Brady, you there?
Yeah, you can hear me?
I think Brady's frozen. The latest fight. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, you were like cutting out a little bit.
Yeah.
Hello?
Oh, okay. Yeah, and you're kind of cutting out a little bit too. I don't know what's going on here. I'll talk about the Talis latest fight. Can you? Okay.
All right, I'm gonna pull you out.
Okay.
All right, are you there?
Yeah. How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're just a little bit choppy, but it should be good. But yeah, the Talis fight, yeah, that was a good fight. Am I cutting out still, or am I good?
You're good.
Okay, good. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I gotta fix my internet. But yeah, in that fight, it was a crazy fight. It was back and forth. Jack Hermansson got put in some very, very tricky spots. I thought he was gonna get submitted like a couple of different times, but it just showed the toughness of Jack Hermansson, the cardio. This guy is very, very tough, very hard to put away. And yeah, when he did get on top, he had some success. And then in the third round, it looked like Lattis kind of tired out a little bit, and Jack was able to put him out with a nice TKO there. But yeah, that fight just showed the toughness. It's really hard to get this guy out of here. And yeah, I mean, on top, he's a monster. When he got on top, he looks for submissions. He has very, very good ground and pound, and he's very dangerous. He submitted guys like Gerald Mearshart, who's a legit black belt. He submitted David Branch in 49 seconds. He's very, very dangerous when it does get to the mat. And that's why, like, who said it in the chat? It was Trey that said in the chat, this fight comes down to can Strickland stuff the takedowns? And if he can, yeah, I think Strickland wins. But what happens if he gets taken down? You were talking about Strickland's ground game is good. It's really good. He's either a brown belt or a black belt in BJJ. The problem with Strickland is we don't really get to see that ground game that much, but I'm wondering if we will see it here. I think we will. I think we'll see the ground game here. And I think that Hermansson might get him down a couple times. It just can he hold him down? Because even Kamaru Usman, he was doing a good job against Usman. I know that was a while ago, different weight class, but he was doing a good job stuffing the takedowns for the most part. And Usman was still able to control him, but that was Kamaru Usman. So, yeah, I think that's the toughest spot for me is deciding whether Strickland's able to stuff the takedowns. If he does, I think he wins pretty easily. If not, I think it get pretty sketchy.
Yeah, absolutely. And in that latest fight, Hermansson broke his rib in the first round. And when you saw to Lattis go for the takedown in the second, you could tell Hermansson had no ability to be able to defend against it at all because of the broken rib. He got taken down. He was grimacing there, but he survived. This guy can hang on the ground with anybody. He's taken Jacare down. He's taken Mearshart down. He's taking Lattis down. He's taken so many of the top grapplers in the middleweight division down and was able to swim with them on the ground in impressive fashion. Cesar Ferreira submitted him with an arm triangle. That's the only guy to submit him in the UFC. It's been a really impressive performance for Jack on the ground. But Strickland has shown really good takedown defense and a good get-up game. But like we say, it kind of reminded me of the Gilbert Burns Stephen Thompson fight, where we were like, man, Stephen Thompson, look at that takedown defense. But then you also looked and you're like, shit, man, to take this guy down. And why, look at these middleweight striking defense numbers for Sean Strickland, and you say, God damn it, this guy's defending strikes at a 70% clip against guys like Uriah Hall, against guys like Jack Marshman, Brendan Allen, Jotko. I mean, you got to try to take him down. Even if it doesn't work, you got to try. And Hanson's going to try. So that'll be what's really interesting here, Brady, is how much does Hermansson commit to the wrestling early? And if he does commit to that wrestling early and often, will he have success with it? And will he have the gas tank to keep it up for 5 rounds?
I think he will. Like, in terms of the gas tank, somebody asked in the chat, like, is there an advantage for either guy in terms of the cardio? Like, I think both guys' cardio
still
is
there,
pretty
brother?
good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
God damn it. I don't know if it's on my end or Brady's end, but I'll keep talking.
Hello?
They're both great. They're both great. Fuck. Yeah, I must be having problems over here with my internet. It shows I'm good, but I don't know.
They're saying it's on your end. So I mean, I can hear you.
This is so messed up, man. I don't know. These guys
can you hear me now,
Newland can hear me while I'm talking. Brady, it's good. Oh, okay, it's on my end. All right. Okay. Good.
Okay. I'll just talk for a little bit.
Oh, I can hear you. Yeah,
we'll talk about the. You're like, hello.
Okay.
1 second. Let me just try to drag it back out. Wow, weird. Try again. All right. Well, we'll talk to the chat a little bit while Wheezy comes back. Wheezy might try to reset your computer or something, but we'll talk to the chat a little bit. Paul and Strickland just being a bit lethargic on the feet, like he's taking a nap. He has a Muay Thai stance, but he just mostly uses the boxing. Yeah, just uses the boxing, kind of just stands in front of his opponents. But DXJC saying it doesn't mean he is going to lose the ability to stuff a takedown. We don't know. He could stuff him or he could not. Strickland got an 82% takedown defense. By that stat alone, it sounds like Jack's taking it out. But I mean, you got to look into that a little bit more. He has an 82% takedown defense, but who's trying to take him down? Court McGee tried to take him down 11 times, got 0 of those takedowns. And outside of that, Kamaru Usman, Garcia, but that was like years ago. So would have been nice to see Brendan Allen try to take him down. We probably would have answered some questions, but Brendan Allen tried to take him down a massive 0 times. But that's just the fight IQ of Brendan Allen, like Roy saying. Have learned to never expect Brendan Allen to demonstrate good fight IQ, and rightfully so. Brendan's fight IQ is horrible. Who's trying to take him down? Exactly. Nobody's trying to take him down as of late. And I agree, Ro. I think that was a different Court McGee. Yeah. Court McGee has had a career resurgence, right? So I agree with that. Wheezy, you're back. Can you hear me?
What's up, dude? I just went and clicked the link again just to try to go all the way back in from the beginning. Are you hearing me this time?
Just a little choppy still.
All right. Good. You hear me?
Yeah. Do you want to quickly go through the strength of schedule?
Okay. Damn it. We'll keep talking.
All right. So strength of schedule, it looks like on paper, Sean Strickland has the better strength of schedule.
What we're talking about. I've got it right in front of me here. So, we've got the better one going to Strickland here on the ratios, but the problem is that the schedule was much better for Strickland at the welterweight level than it was the weight level. Hermansson's middleweight strength of schedule overall is a 1.44 ratio with 11.85 total fights. So the average record of the guy that Hermansson is fighting at middleweight is 7-4.5, and he with winning records and almost 11 total fights as well with a 1.39 ratio. Now, we would have to actually go through numbers kind of one by one here and look at the middleweight division here. Jotko, Allen, and Marshman. So when you add that up, it's 25, 28, and 13, 18, and 20. So it's 28 and 20. So it's less than a 1.33 ratio of wins to losses here. So I would say that at the middleweight level, Jack Hermansson has definitely been fighting the better competition. When you look at names like Allen having the best ratioed record, Krzysztof Jotko 10-5, Uriah Hall 10-8, and Jack Marshman 3-5. That Marshman beat were not top quality. While we look at guys on Hermansson's record like Santos 14-8, Latus 13-8, Mearshart 9-7, Branch 4-5, 9-7, Cannoneer 7-5, Gastelum 11-8, Vittori 8-3, Shabazian 5-3. So I think that the strength of schedule has been a little bit better here for Hermansson at the middleweight level. And when you look, Hermansson is the best win on his record at either weight class if he gets this win. Bubba McDaniel, Luke Barnett, Igor Araujo, Alex Garcia, Tom Breeze, Court McGee, Nordine Taleb, Jack Marshman, Brendan Allen, Jotko, and Hall. Not exactly a who's who of welterweights and middleweights that Sean Strickland has beat. I got to believe that this is his best win if he beats Jack Hermansson, in my opinion. I don't know about you.
No, I mean, that makes perfect sense to me, and you're back to sounding better, so that's good. Hopefully, it stays that way. But yep, so that was interesting. It will be probably the best win of Sean Strickland's career. I do want to talk about the betting perspective and the betting side of things, though. I'll be honest, I've been flipping like back and forth on this fight all week. I did end up on the Strickland side because from what I've seen, his takedown defense is very good, from what I've seen at least. But there are some question marks. It hasn't been tested late, and it's going to be tested here. And Jack Hermansson is no joke on the mat. So I kind of think that Sean Strickland is going to stuff the takedowns, keep it on the feet, and probably win a 5-round decision. We take a look at the odds here. Sean Strickland opened up -175. He's now -210. Hermansson opened up +150. He's now +180. I kind of agree with the opener a little bit more. Strickland like -170, -175 seems about more right to me. Weezy, any thoughts on this line? Do you think it's correct? Do you think it could be wider? What do you think about it?
Yeah, when you look at how this fight's probably going to take place, Strickland's really good at distance management and defense on the feet. And as far as we know, his takedown defense should be on point, and his ground game should be good enough to swim with Hermansson. So I see why he's a favorite, but it just feels like it's too much to lay if the fight does take place where we say, fuck, Hermansson really went after those takedowns and he got them. And when he got Sean down, he was better than him down there. And it just turns out that the last 4 guys that fought him aren't the kind of guys who are going to try to take you down. The one thing that was really kind of perplexing, because in the Marshman fight and in the Hall, not really those guys that try to take down Strickland. But Allen combining for 1 takedown attempt in almost 5 rounds, that's perplexing. Just really bad game planning, or there's something about Sean Strickland that I just don't know about how incredible this guy is. But, seeing as Jack Hermansson wasn't afraid to take down Latus, wasn't afraid to take down Mearshart, and he's submitting. Really interesting. I got to talk about this. In that latest fight, he broke his rib. He almost got finished in the second. He comes back in the third, gets the TKO win over Latus. It was spectacular. He had to give that post-fight interview sitting down with a broken rib, and you could see how much pain he was in. You could see how much he had to overcome to get that win. He tried that guillotine that he gets from side position where he goes all the way underneath the body. You know what I'm talking about, with the left arm, and he gets on his opponent's left side with the left arm, and he chokes with that side guillotine. He had it on Latis. He said he had just learned that technique, and then he said, I am going to use technique to take people's heads off like I'm the Grim Reaper from here on out. And what happens? He gets that goddamn guillotine in the next fight, and he gets it 2 fights again later, and he's been setting that up and getting people with that one, long time. So he's very, very dangerous down there. I just don't feel comfortable weighing minus 210 on Sean Strickland here. And I really don't know what to think of the others in the fight goes and fight doesn't go, because both of these guys are very durable. I mean, you can't finish, Hermansson Rib. That's how tough he. I mean, Sean Strickland left a part of his kneecap on the road when he got in that motorcycle accident. And then
I think we lost you, Wheezy. Think we lost you. Oh. All right. So once we get Wheezy back, he's loading here. I'll bring him back in a little bit. We'll talk about the Wheezy. You're back. Wheezy.
I'll tell you, it's a goddamn shame, Brady. I don't know what the hell's happening to me over here.
I don't know. Oh, maybe somebody, I don't know, messed with your internet or something. It was fine last night.
I don't know. My girlfriend's on the phone in the other room. I don't know what happened, man.
That's all right. Hey,
Anyway.
I'll talk about the odds and then we'll head out of here real quick.
We still live, right?
We're still live. So like a couple more minutes. So in terms of a betting perspective, I think I'm just going to pass for the most part. I think the line's probably a little bit too wide. If anything, it might be dog or pass on Jack Hermansson. The over-under looks to be set at 4.5 rounds, minus 125 to the under 4.5. Over 4.5 is minus 105. Just don't really see any reason to touch any of those. The fight doesn't go to decision. Fight goes minus 115. Fight doesn't go minus 115. Nothing really sticking out there. Strickland by KO plus 225. Strickland by decision plus 175. Like maybe that's interesting, but I don't. Nothing really sticks out. But as far as like a final pick, I am going to take Strickland. I'm going to pick him to win by decision. But just like last week, I didn't have a bet on the main event. I think I'm just going to sit back and watch this one from a fan perspective. But yeah, guys, that is about it. Sorry about the technical difficulties. It definitely happens. But Wheezy, if you're still there, let them know where they can find you, man. Looks like you're not, so I'll let them know where they can find you. Follow Wheezy on Twitter. I believe it's MMA Wheezy, and then follow Wheezy on YouTube, Uncle Wheezy. He's going live tonight sometime, and then he's going to be going live tomorrow. You can follow me on Twitter.
You can find me on my channel, Uncle Wheezy. I'll be going live tonight at 10 p.m. Central Time.
It's like we're I don't know. It's weird. But yeah. I'm getting so confused. All right. So, yeah, that's about it, guys. We'll head out of here. And best of luck. We'll talk to you soon. See you guys.